Lawrence Francis, host of Interpreting Wine, where today we look ahead to the 2024 Pura Sede Natural Wine Fair in the company of Fair Founder Florian Tonello. This year's edition takes place in Lisbon on Saturday 23rd and Sunday 24th of March 2024. We kick off the episode hearing Florian's origin story and his touring and meeting natural wine producers in France before opening one of the first natural wine shops in Hackney Road. We then pick up his story and his move to Berlin, which came before him moving to Lisbon in 2019 and launching Ladidadi Imports and Wine Bar, before he reflects on the first edition of Pura Sede in 2020. Florian gives us a virtual tour of his farm, where he produces wine in the Serra da Estrela, taking us into the current production, exports to America, before giving us a preview of this year's fair. Enjoy!
I'm Florian Tonello. I'm the founder of Pura Sede, a natural wine fair in Lisbon. And I'm also a winemaker, producer in the Down region in the north of Portugal, where I live in a farm where I own 1.8 hectares of vines, and where I produce now since last year, 2023, is my first vintage on my own, producing my own personal wine. And also I import natural wine to Portugal from France, Italy, Spain, Germany, mostly those countries to do a distribution in mainly in Lisbon, but also now in Porto, because now there's a lot more development in Porto. So yeah, basically that's like my daily job.
Yeah, that's what's on the business card. So that's great. And again, what I love about having these conversations is that we're going to end up really talking a lot about the fair, the Pura Sede edition of the fair that's coming up. But I totally love for you to kind of take us back in time, really, because before we started recording, I asked you a bit about your origin story, and you told me, and I hope you'll sort of tell us now, about this sort of month and a half journey that you had traveling around France to actually really fall in love with wine, I guess. So and you please give us the background to that, and kind of an introduction to that phase of your life.
Yeah, it's a funny time because so I was living in London and I was working in a restaurant called Braun, and then my friend Guillaume, who's a big wine importer in the US, told me like, we're going to France, you should join. We're gonna do this tour for a month, and we just get a car, and we just like, at the time we couldn't really find the address of the producer, so there was this book from Sylvie Augereau, which is it's called the Carnet de Vigneron or something. So we had few books like that where we could find like a producer's address, and then we would just call, and be like, we're next to your house, we're like importers, can we do a tasting? And we, during this trip, the goal was to do at least 2 or 3 tasting per day. So it means like 100 plus producers after a month. But the amazing story about this is like traveling around France and visiting all the small village, the small region, which also include the tradition, like the food, and the old craft, the old artisanat. So I discovered more about my country, kind of living abroad and coming back with friends, because we were like, okay, let's really search like crazy as much as possible to understand and visit all those guys. So then we did that for 2 years in a row. And the second year I came back to London, and I was like, I need to open my own place, because now I have so much more knowledge, and I met so many people. I need to represent them, because we don't see those people anywhere. And I was like,
And just to clarify, those 2 years you mentioned, was that 2009 and 2010? Is that right?
Yeah, it's like around 2010. Yeah, 9, 10. I don't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But again, the reason that I ask, it's more to, I guess as well, as you've said there, is very early, I think, in the development of certainly natural wine, but even I think the wine bar scene, the wine shop scene, I think it was very different back then.
In London, there was Terroir was one of the first restaurant in the center, and then they opened a small other restaurant, Brown, which I started working there when they just opened. So I was like, and that was perfect for me too, because I knew a little bit about wine working in San Francisco before, more than most of the people there, and they had access because they have a huge the owner. They're like importers, and they're like one of the biggest importers. They're called Cave des Pyrénées. So in the restaurant, we would have all the selection from Cave des Pyrénées, and we would drink everything every night because that was the opening. Everybody was going crazy. They didn't care about, I guess, drinking the stock, so it was like the best time. So I had the chance to try like amazing wines working there. And then I was like, well, I can't work 70 hours a week and get paid so little because that's like the how it goes in gastronomy. And then I need to use my knowledge and with the people I met start this small wine shop on Hackney Road, which was a bit dodgy, at the time. Hackney Road was just like wholesale, like bags and just nothing there, but quite cool because we found this place for quite cheap.
Yeah.
And then we were like one of the first on Hackney Road. People, they were kind of like artists, and also like lots of Indian, lots of mix. Not so rich, and they didn't. This kind of like type of wine wasn't so popular. Like nobody really knew, and so people, they would come to the shop, and then they would be like, we would write the price, with the white pen, which was not really done at the time. So they were like, what's the number of the bottle? And we were like, they're the price. And they're like, wow, it's too expensive. Like, you guys crazy. This is never going to work. And then now you see how big the natural wine is in London. It's like I could be a millionaire, if I had stayed and if I would have been better in running a business. But at the time, I have no idea how to run a business, so it's just lots of fun, and just drinking everything, losing money.
I think it's it's interesting though. There's a quote that I keep thinking about, which is you can only connect the dots looking back. You look back and then you see kind of the opportunity, and kind of, I guess, in a way that you were one of the first people to be surfing this wave. I think it's a wave that's still coming. It's still getting stronger, but you were one of the very first people on your surfboard in Hackney Road surfing this wave. Kind of long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. There's not that easy because when you're first, you still have to climb like higher than others, and you have to push it more, which is a fun time too, because at this time in London, there was all this explosion. So we would meet all the best chefs and stuff that would be around the same energy, So for us, it was super special because we would go to one guy restaurant and we would get invited, and then they would come to our place and we would buy wine for them. And I don't know, this exchange that disappeared after a couple of years because of like the gentrification and the explosion of business and the cost of life and stuff, which we lost, but in a certain way, the scene got bigger and bigger, which is amazing, that's where we were. But for us at this time, we were like more into this little village, and we never lived East London, and we were just going to London Fields and back to Hackney Road, So just walking and see some friends everywhere, and the whole chef, and so there's this energy that were like so special. And then was intense, at the same time. But we met so many great people through that. We created like a small little scene with all the people. Now they are super successful. Like all the chefs we were working with, they're like top restaurant now in London. But it's nice to have this little story when you're there at the beginning, because now when I go there and visit, I don't say anything. I go see those guys, and they're like, Flo and stuff. And that's the best part.
I love it. Yeah, and again, just really, out of curiosity, like who are some of the people that kind of, I know you won't be able to name everybody, but are there maybe one or two that you thought, okay, they were people who you were relatively close to maybe, or you've seen them go on, and they're the ones that kind of, as you say, they hug you when they see you now when you come to London.
Ed Wilson from Braun, which was the chef at the time. We had a good relation. Then my friend, they opened a shop called Noble Fine Liquor, and then they opened P. Franco and all those places, So, but like I said, we were really at the beginning. Noble Fine Liquor, they was not even open yet. They opened after us, 2 years after us or something, 1 year and a half. Mm-hmm. And then, the guy from Noble Rot, they used to come a lot to my shop to steal my labels. No, I'm kidding. They were cool.
Yeah, but this is super interesting, and it's again, it's sort of it's a time that I personally wasn't even so much into wine, but I think that there'll be a lot of people listening who, again, the same, maybe they've come a little bit more recently, and they can know that there was a kind of a foundation and a kind of an origin of a lot of what they see maybe in current landscape of London.
We did a small thing, but I think we want to remember. But I know last time I went to Sydney, like 3-4 years ago, there's like this big Woodstock festival. It's like the biggest natural wine in Australia, mm-hmm. one of the biggest. And my friend was the organizer of this place. They were my friends, so they were like, "Oh, come to the festival. You can play some records and stuff, and you can meet some producers, and you have the pass or whatever." Then I go there, I start talking to like a random guy, about having a shop like 10 years, 15 years before in Hackney, like the 259. It was called 259 Hackney Road. And the guy was like, "Wow, that's like the first fucking shop and stuff." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." The journey between this and, because I never really think about what I've done, because I still like to continue and produce new things all the time. Mm-hmm. And moving to different city, you always have to start again from zero, so you don't really have the time to go back. But this time I realized, I was like, "Wow, that's super cool. I'm in Sydney," and the guy, you remember what I did like 15 years ago. So I was like, "Okay, there's something's happening."
I love it, and it's one of those things that I've experienced as well. It's like you what you put out into the world, it's I guess it's just what you feel is the best thing to do at the time, and you kind of do your best in that moment. But it can start off a whole other chain of experiences. It's like you were obviously inspired by your journey and by all of those winemakers. Maybe I don't know. Maybe some of them, they didn't know you've started a shop, and you've gone on to this whole thing, and maybe they never knew, or it's like I think you never know where the positive energy can kind of go out there into the world. I think it's a great thing, but I think what would be cool though, is to again, I've got to for myself, for the listener, I want to join the dots to where you are now in Portugal. So after opening the shop, maybe bring us up to date in terms of what was next after the shop, and maybe a sense of how many years that was open for.
I think we opened for like 3 years, and then we realized that we were completely broke because we drank all the cellar. So then we were like, okay, well, London's too expensive. Like I say, it was changing so much, East London, and then all the clubs that we liked, they disappeared. So we were like, okay, let's move on to somewhere else. Yeah. And then because of being broke, my girlfriend at the time, she was like, "Oh, we should go to Switzerland." So we went to this huge resort called Verbier. It's like, and I worked as a sommelier, like in a 5-star whatever hotel, for like 10 months for the season. So I saved some money there. And then we hated we don't hate Switzerland, but it was quite a bit boring, Yeah. So then we were like, let's go to Berlin, because same, we are so much into music. So we were like, well, what's the next city? What's sounds cool? Where's the cool people? Where the good music is? Where's the best club and stuff? So Berlin was next. And then again in Berlin, I started slowly importing wine. I opened a small shop in Kreuzberg, And I did lots of events. I work with lots of creative people because in Berlin there's a lot around art and music and stuff like that. So there we try to mix a little bit everything that we learn and make new connection. Like for example, there was friends of mine that organized a party called Joe, and they have DJ like Theo Parrish and MCD, or I mean, for the people who knows that, and they would ask me to come and pour wine to those parties. So it's like really like house music, or I mean a little bit eclectic, but like dance music, and slowly bringing the natural wine into that scene instead of like getting smashed and drinking like shit alcohol, or So they would have this kind of sensibility of already thinking like, oh, if people drink something good, the vibe's going to be, it's going to be different. It's going to bring something to it's going to add something to the vibe. So I think in Berlin, there was a lot of more stuff like that, that was quite interesting. And in Berlin, I stayed like same about 5 years.
Sure.
Before moving to Lisbon.
Okay. And just to say as well that there you were again. You said you had a shop and you were importing, and it was a little bit similar to London, but as you say, maybe it's, I don't know, slightly different in terms of the art scene and the music scene. Yeah. Maybe more of that element came out.
Yeah, more that element came out, but also I had to do every city. I realized that I had to choose maybe different producer because of the people, of the environment and stuff, and also because of the tradition maybe, and bring something like that would match a little bit more the place. So I did this too, to just renew my selection and be like, oh, okay, this is not working. So people they need something a bit cheaper. They need something. Berlin, it's what it is. Like most of my friends, they were broke, so like natural wine can be quite expensive. So I had to think differently. And the same at this time, the scene was just emerging, and there was one shop selling in West Berlin called Viniculture, which it still exists. It was one of the biggest. But in terms of natural wine, there's like the same. There's like lack of. And German wine is big, in Germany. People they like their old Riesling and stuff.
Yeah.
Which for us, we were like, oh no, this is like we don't want to drink that. We want to drink something new. So same at this time, I met new young producer that was kind of like revolutionized the taste, and they were bringing something way more fresh and way different into the German wine world, which is very like stuck in the past. It's hard to change it. But those guys, like I'm thinking about Martin Warner, for example, Marto, in the south of Germany. Decided to change to make a wine that younger crowd would be more into in terms of taste. And then he started this little group of friends, and then there's like 5, 6, 7 producers from the same region town. And now it's amazing because they changed the deal, the concept. So the emergence at this time was very exciting.
Sure. Yeah. And again, hopefully this is interesting for you as well to kind of look back and connect some of these dots. I always I think it's mentioned. I'm sorry.
No, I say there's a lot of dots. Sometimes they're a little bit not in the same line, but I'm trying to just reconnect.
Yeah. Well, again, we all do the same. We all connect our dots, and sometimes smooth out the dots a little bit. Make it into a story. But that's all good. And I guess the thing with Berlin it's also a bit interesting to me is like, as you say, a little bit from a personal point of view as well. It's like I've lived in different cities and different countries, and I think that when you well, for you as well, I've usually moved there with jobs, but you move there as an entrepreneur, really, as a businessman, as a shop owner, as an importer, and did you then? So you said before London, you'd been able to kind of have that month and a half, 2 years in a row, kind of traveling around and doing that. I'm curious, was there a similar kind of period like that in Germany where you were like, okay, maybe Germany hasn't been my main focus till now, so I need to kind of put in the reps, go and kind of pound the streets a little bit and go out and see what's happening.
Yeah, well, I never did as intense as those years because I was a bit older, and then at this time I could handle, I think, much more. But then that would have been dangerous to do the same kind of trip. But no, slowly. Then I started just going around a bit in Germany, in Czech Republic, in Hungary. I took the opportunity because I was in this part of the Europe to just do a little more like Eastern countries.
Yeah.
And I always keep on going visit producers because that's kind of that bring me my passion. Sometimes you're selling, you deal with restaurant, you deal with bar, you deal with the people from the industry, and you're like, this is sometimes it can be like a bit overwhelming, but as soon as you go back visiting a producer, you're like, okay, I'm doing this for the love and for this passion. And I would bring you back to, you want to continue, you want to share this story with every people you can. So no, I always go on a little trip as much as I can.
Sure.
Like Guillaume, the guy who took me to this, with my importer now in the US. So my old friend, with who we started the Schlag, called the Schlag Tour. He now come to Portugal, and sometimes we go on trip together, and like we did in the past, but we just go see one or two producers, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Or now I go more in Spain. I'm close to Spain. I'm like 1 hour from Spain where I live, so it's easy for me to go to Galicia.
It's great, and I totally appreciate what you're saying there about going to visit the producers because. It happened very much with me. Already I've probably published about, more than 500 episodes, but in the first 400, they were all in person, and more than half were with producers. I think around 200 out of 400 were with producers, and it's exactly that thing. It's I didn't set out only to cover producers. I covered restaurants, I covered educators and, masters of wine and sommeliers and, chefs, a bunch of people. But then again, looking back, connecting the dots, then you see, wow, the number one thing I've done is actually traveling to producers. And I totally get that. It's that thing, as you say, I can be like a machine because it gives me so much energy to travel to the producers, to hear the stories and to know that I'm capturing it as well, and I'll be able to share it. And I think there's a similarity there. You're capturing it in when you stock the wine, when you can talk to people about the wine, and I'm coming at it from the producing media that goes out there and kind of tells the story for people. So
I think nice. It's so easy as well to just disconnect and find producers like on Instagram, for example. And people, they don't even go to visit them. It's just like a chase of getting the names, the big names, like who's going to be the first. Who also the people who only goes to wine fair. So I like the diversity, and you have the chance to try a lot of producer and meet the producer at the wine fair. But I always kind of recommend or tell people, or I see the difference between an importer who only chooses his producer in the wine fair or who actually goes to visit the actual producer in his house, because the story is different. It's not just about selling; it's more about try to live and explain the difficulty of this work as well. It's not like the easiest. When you start working land and soil and stuff, you're gonna have to commit 100%, because the nature is not gonna wait for you.
I love that you made that point as well, because it's like, again, I'm sure we'll come on to it when we talk about your project there, Florian. But it's like, people they say to me, "Oh, so you're going to make wine then?" It's like, I'm not that crazy, It's like it just seems like such a huge gamble, and of all the produce that you can make, it seems like it's almost the craziest one to do. It's like at any point it can be taken from you, like that. Like one night of frost or a swarm of birds or something. It's like there's so much.
Terrible. It's a terrible plan. Nobody should do that. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, but it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe as well, just make the transition to Portugal, because it sounds as though that was directly after Berlin. So yeah, maybe how did you decide Portugal after Berlin and leaving Berlin? Yeah.
It's always a story like following a girl, mostly. But so I don't know. And she started working. We were living together in Berlin, and she started having to have a job in Lisbon. So I think we came twice to visit, and then we felt like instantly in love. I mean, compared to Berlin at the time, it's completely like the day and the sun and the dark, So we were like, oh man, we can't go back to Berlin. This city is like it's amazing. It's cheap. You can eat like very nice, like simple food. In Berlin, the food it's different. You have to either you go to really really good restaurant and you have like nice food, but the quality of food in Germany. I'm gonna make some enemies there. I love the German food in the countryside and stuff, but in Berlin, maybe nice, different. But well, going to Lisbon, having all this fresh food next to the sea, the sun, the temperature, the quality of life. I don't know. We were like, let's forget about Berlin. And we needed more tranquility as well at this time, because after doing like San Francisco, I'm born in Paris, then London, then Berlin, then another big city like Lisbon. We were like, okay, let's find a balance and try to be a little bit more calm, which didn't really happen, but the idea was to.
I love
because
it.
after like 6 months, I opened the wine bar. It took me just I think 6 months or something. So I moved to Lisbon, and then I found the place. I built the place. I opened the place without anything pretty much inside at first. That's just like one shelf of like 5 producers, or it's nothing. But we started doing like small events, like pop-up with my ex-girlfriend, which is Clara from SIPS. So she's the one who organized the Pura Sede wine fair with me. So we lived together in Lisbon, and we started like that, doing small pop-up and trying to promote the place and get a bit of money to buy more wine slowly, and then we had this place open, the Ladidadi. It's called. Well, it's closed now, but it was called Ladidadi.
Okay, so I was going to say the bar. So and just to clarify, then it was a bar, but then also, what was the pop-up element? What was the pop-up part? What did that look like?
Yeah, it was a bar, but then I invested in this like very good audiophile sound system. So there was like this quality of music, of sound. Yeah. And the pop-up part, it's like, because I love to bring people together and not help, but do collaboration. In each city I've been, I've done like a local collaboration with the people just around where we live. And then bring other people like that have more knowledge or different from a different place, from different culture, to also have both environment or both. And then in this same, we started like making every week, like we call it the worker lunch. It was called worker lunch. So for 10 euros, you would have one dish, home cooked, like a freshly cooked, and a glass of wine. So that's always the idea of trying to bring down the price to make this available for everybody as possible. So in terms of business profit, not the best idea, but in terms of the philosophy, I always try to work all my life as like that, to be able to offer this like a very high quality product to most people in general.
I'm also just curious, Florian, because could you then also just, I guess, kind of date that period for us? Like, when you moved to Lisbon, what year was it? And, more or less when you closed Ladidadi.
Yeah, it was in 2019, I think, the end of the year. And then in 2020, we did the first edition of Pura Sede, which was in March. And I think there was 1 week before the COVID, like the complete lockdown. So it's like a huge challenge. Everyone was saying like, "Oh, you're crazy. You shouldn't do that. You're gonna contaminate the whole population." And we're like, "Yeah, fuck it. We still we work hard to make this happen, and we made it. And it was huge. It's like a big success.
Yeah.
Nobody got sick or so everything went fine. Yeah, but yeah, I opened the shop just before the COVID, so 2020.
Okay.
So yeah, then I had to rethink everything, for 2 years. I mean, for a year and a half, we couldn't be open. So I was like in my shop alone, like what am I doing? But no, but it worked fine because then I moved all my business online and I learned how to do it because there was good time to just learn. That saved me. I had good client with my online shop, so that helped me pay the bill at this time. So I've never been. So I always work in emergency, kind of. So it was not so very new for me to again have to rethink a different plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's again, it's like hearing your story. You've had this kind of flexibility muscle, that you've had to develop, and it just sounds as though you've gone to cities at really interesting times in their evolution, and it's when the change is happening, and I think as you rightly said, a lot of it is kind of gentrification and people moving in and moving out, then you have to be adaptable. I think that's something I really admire in you. Actually, I think doing that from an entrepreneurial point of view, it's incredible. Yeah.
I think I can be part also of the gentrification, but my always goal is to first to be present on just the street, just like I wasn't doing like politics or whatever, but I was like, I need to help the people that live around me, or just communicating or just connecting with them, and that's the most important. That's on the scale I can of what I can do everywhere I've been. My main goal was like connecting those people and try to organize like events where everybody on the street is invited. So the Indian, the Chinese, the Portuguese, old Portuguese, the young, doesn't matter. Every time I wanted to have a place like that where everybody is invited and not just like a place where it's titled natural wine and it's like reserved to more like an elite in the first place. When I think about creating a place like that, it's for the people that live where I live, because that's the problem with Lisbon now, I think, and since like few years, is that people, they come because it's cheap and they have a company outside of Portugal, so they make a lot of money because the minimum wage in Portugal it's super low, and then they consume not local, or they don't contribute, to the local economy somehow, not so much. So now the price of the rent of apartment is as expensive as Paris, and you see the poverty. I mean the budget or the finance of the people that live there for a long time or that used to live there. It's kind of crazy, that they don't put any law to stop the price of the rent goes up like this. That's why I had to close the shop, because my landlord, he decided, he was like, either you buy the place for 250,000 euros or you're gonna have to leave. So I started fighting with lawyers and stuff, which cost me money. And then I was like, I just want to operate a bar. I don't have to be a victim of all this. It's taking too much of my time. I could fight, against all this bullshit. But then you do another work. Then you enter to like it's a different work, which I didn't want to go. That's why I moved out from Lisbon. I was like, nah. It was like kind of the next step for me was like more and more going to like all this super intense city and live like that and be involved in so many things, and slowly going down to Lisbon and slowly getting older and stuff. Then I found this place here, like where I live now, in this farm in Dow. And I think was the logic, I can't really stand too much the city anymore. I think I burned out a bit.
Yeah.
So now I'm just alone in like a tiny village, and I'm feeling quite good.
I'm sure. And but, I mean, and in whatever way it sort of makes sense, maybe give us a bit of a tour, like a virtual tour of the farm, because again, I think it's a region of Portugal called the Dow, which again, some of the listeners may not have heard about. So I think that would be a great introduction to the region, to speaking with somebody who's living and making wine there.
Yeah, we're close to the mountains, so Serra da Estrela. We are in the north of Portugal, close to Spain, 1 hour from Spain, and 1 hour from Porto, so right in the middle. Where I live is 500, 600 elevation, so we have a very mixed climate, microclimate, with the actual season, well, it's still hot because Portugal. But then what's around? There is a lot of granite factory, not factory, but where they dig for the stone, The
mine.
So the landscape is like in between mountain and the forest, and also very rich, very lush in terms of variety because of the climate. So you can find as well as kiwi, like people grow kiwi, as well as fig, as well as I don't know. It's so rich in diversity of. I think that's why I fell in love in the first place, because I came here and I was like kind of untouched, old, but I looked around and I was like, wow, this is like a mix of you can grow everything. It's like perfect climate. So yeah, it's very green, and there's a lot of stone, huge stone. So it looks like a bit like a mystic, like a druid vibe, some village, super. You feel that's like some like old witch. Kind of.
It's got the energy kind of stored in the stones, and I think that's always something interesting. Is then the grapes can survive in these places, right? They can bring out some of this energy.
Yeah. Then it's a very famous region for wine, but more known for like a lighter wine, which I love in general, and more balanced, like more the acidity type of wine because of the climate. And I mean, for me, for example, my vineyard is made of clay, but I also have a lot of slate on the top, and then lots of quartz, like big piece of quartz, and a little bit of granite. So it's the soil is very rich and diverse, which you don't see this so much in Portugal. It's very unique. But except that I live in a small village. There's like five people and me. And I have my farm in the vineyard with olive trees. I have 300 olive trees, and I also rent a big wine cellar in the town. I mean, it's like 10 minutes from me, so everything I can have all the equipment. So it's super convenient.
And did I understand correctly? You said that you're exporting to America with your friend. Could you say a bit about what types of wines you're making, like varieties, a little bit about style, but then also, what feedback and interest that you've got from places like America?
So what happened is that the feedback I don't know yet, because it's still in the process. So it's very new. So I don't get. I mean, I have feedback from my importers, but the thing is, I moved slowly, like gradually to here, to this region, coming from Lisbon, because I wanted to make a house wine for my shop. And then I knew a producer called João Tavares, which introduced me to another producer here. His name is Hugo Pinheiro, which I started making wine with. So we started for 2 years. I was coming here, helping for harvest, helping in the cellar, bring some friends of mine to help also. And back and forth, we would do one wine and I would go back and one wine like this. So and then we ended up, we wanted to do like 1,000 liters and we ended up with like 6,000 liters and with 5 different wines. So we did way more than what we talked about at first. But so we did that for 2 years. And last year, I found this place from João Tavares again. He said, "Oh, you should check this farm. It's my friend Jose. He knows all about biologic farming. He's into biodynamic farming as well, which is very rare here. So I found like an amazing person. And then I always had my own recipe because all the producers I've been visiting from the past everywhere. I like this type of wine. It's more my style, you know. So I want to make something balanced, but with a little bit more acidity. But I don't like so much funky wine. I like volatile wine, and I can drink a lot of those. But for my work, I try to, as much as possible, to go with something very clean and with no deviance. So last year, like for my own project now, I just released 4 wines. So I have one rosé, so it's a jus de goutte, we say, because it's not pressed. It's from a grape called Touriga Nacional, which is a red grape here. That's quite known. But Touriga Nacional is usually a bit heavy with tannin. So I decided to harvest a little bit earlier and to make 2 different wines. To make one without pressing, so just the jus de goutte, it's called. So make something like very clear, like a nice, like light rosé color, but a little bit more dark than a simple rosé. Then with the same grape, I made another red, which is the press of the same grape, which I did with a short time because usually here they use the same technique. They do like 5 days of maceration, but I did a little bit shorter because I like less extraction into my wine, so I wanted something a little bit more light as well. So I used different technique like that. Then I made a white. I think I made the white first, actually, because in my cellar I have like huge granite tank that you use. They're very old, like super traditional here. It's called lagar, and they can hold 3 tons of grape. So basically, you just empty at this time all my grape, put it in the granite tank, which is usually nice because it has a cold temperature. You know, when it's hot, it keeps cold temperature because it's made of the stone. And then you leave it in there. You do all the maceration, the first maceration, and you press by feet. That's what we do. We press by feet for a couple of days. And then when I saw the color, I was like, oh, okay, that's what I want. You take the juice out, put it in the tank, press the rest of the grape. You mix it in the same tank. You could separate, but I don't have too much possibility to do that yet. And so that means I did these 2 different wine with just one with the same grape. Then I have 6 types of white grape in my vineyard. They've been co-planted at the time because my owner decided to do that because he thought this blend would bring a lot more complexity, and it's a unique blend because you don't find any vineyard with those 6 varieties, which is mainly Encruzado, Malvasia, Cercial, Pical. So those are kind of the main grape, and then you have 2 more like indigenous, very rare variety. So with this one, I made like some kind of like white with a little bit of a skin contact, like 4 days. So something clear, quite clean and stuff. And then I made because the main grape that I have is called Jayen. So it's a red grape, quite known in the region, and it's more like light red grape, which I really like. And this grape I made like a big tank of 4,000 liters. So that's like what I have the most. So I think this I'm gonna bottle in a 1 liter bottle, so I can make it cheaper, and then people can drink more.
Yeah, that's it. It sounds like it's very drinkable. People will appreciate a larger bottle, I think.
Actually, I need to keep myself away from the cellar because it's dangerous. So I really go there when I have people visiting to taste, because I can just drink too much from the from the tank. I mean, that was my dream all my life, is to drink to make natural wine. Now I have my own production, so I don't need to buy. I mean, I import wine, so I also have like a collection. But
sure,
in my head, I'm like, okay, so now I nailed that. I don't even need to buy wine anymore. I have like 6,000 liters.
That's it. Yeah,
the whole thing.
You've got an audience of at least one, which is you. You're scratching your own itch. That's beautiful, And
I'm happy about what I've done. So
what I'd like to do, because we're kind of coming a little bit towards closing, so I wanted to just try and talk about the fair. So I would again, in closing, I would invite you to really give us a preview of the fair that's coming up, because I love the description you just gave there, because evidently your wines will be there, I'm guessing, and then the wines from Hugo will be there. And I've also just seen João Tavares, he's also in the list. So could you again maybe give us a flavor of, I guess, the types of winemakers that are there, but then also I think it's interesting looking at the list, the location, because you've created a space, really, exactly as you said earlier, where you are, I'm sure, attracting local people to attend and taste, but the people who are actually now showing the wines, they're coming from many different places. So give us a sense of what you're looking forward to in terms of the 2024 edition of Pura Sede.
Yeah. So 2024, we're going to have around 60, 70 producers. In the past, the first fair was a lot about bringing like big names, European producer that was quite known in the industry, to be able to have an exchange with the new Portuguese scene, which developed super quick, like the last 4 years. And more every year, I get more email from small farmer here that make their wine in the organic way, the most natural as possible. So now I'm trying to focus more on that. Still try to bring some good names. So those producers inside the fair, they can still talk between them and see like a different style from a different country. So we have people from Italy, from Germany, Spain. We have Slovakia, Strekov, which is a really amazing producer. And it will be 2 days on the 23rd and the 24th of March. From there's a professional in the morning from 10 to 1, and then it's open to public both days. On the Saturday evening, we have a dinner with all the producers. I also have friends, they collect records, so they would come and play a selection to go with the dinner. I also have an artist. She draw wine bottles, so she's going to do like a live drawing and sell her work during the event. It's called Good Wine Crap Drawing, or Crap Drawing Good Wine. No, Good Wine Crap Drawing. That's her name. And what else? That's it. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be next to Martin Moniz, which is a center neighborhood of Lisbon, close to the river. This big not old, but it's like a big like art space that is like a four floor building, very like a brutal type architecture. And we are using the rooftop. So last year it was super sunny, and just easy, chill vibe, not so pretentious, but just to show people the good work of those hardworking farmer.
A huge thanks to today's guest, Florian Tonello of Pura Sede. If this has whet your appetite for this year's fair, then make sure you visit purasedelisboa.com, spellings below. This is where you can find the names of all the artisans that they've got there on site pouring their wines. As you'd imagine, an incredibly diverse selection of producers from Portugal. This is arguably the place to visit to understand and taste natural wines from this really exciting wine country. Tickets are on sale now, and as you may well imagine, Florian has priced them very reasonably at just €25 for Saturday or Sunday tickets, or what I think is an incredible deal, €30 for both days. And of course, if you do get over to the fair, make sure you go and say hi to Florian and let him know that you heard his episode on interpreting wine. See you next time.